In Puerto La Cruz, a bustling coastal city in eastern Venezuela, the streets became a stage for a carefully choreographed show of strength. Police motorcycles lined up in disciplined formation, SUVs rolled past in convoys, and even a patrol boat carried a defiant banner with the words, "To doubt is treason." All of this unfolded under the watchful eye of Venezuela's Interior Minister, Diosdado Cabello, who used the occasion not just to hand over new police equipment, but to deliver a message with global implications. Standing before ranks of uniformed officers, Cabello declared with firm conviction, "We are united in the defense of our homeland." President Nicolas Maduro told us to prepare for the transition from an unarmed conflict to an armed conflict. This should not worry anyone, because it is the preparation of a people who want to ensure their peace, stability, sovereignty and independence. The words reverberated far beyond the square. For years, Venezuela has accused Washington of orchestrating economic strangulation and covert political operations. Now, however, the language has shifted. This was no longer about resistance in the face of sanctions, but readiness for combat. Cabello's framing was careful, portraying escalation not as aggression, but as self-defense, the necessary preparation of a people under siege. And then came an even more striking passage. All of this is within the framework of integral security, of the integral defense of the nation, with two fundamental lines: prolonged active resistance and permanent offensive. Permanent offensive so that when they come, we will have already beaten them twice. The phrase permanent offensive encapsulated a doctrine forged in the years of Hugo Chavez, one that cast the United States as an imperial adversary to be resisted at all costs. Yet here it was being sharpened into something more direct, an open embrace of the idea that Venezuela would not only withstand, but also counterattack. The timing could not have been more deliberate. Only days earlier, US naval vessels were deployed into the Caribbean, a maneuver Venezuelan officials immediately denounced as a provocation. Caracas framed it as yet another link in a chain of hostility stretching back decades, from coups and embargoes to sanctions and political pressure campaigns. For the government, this was proof that the homeland truly was under threat. For observers, it was a signal that the standoff had entered a far more volatile phase. The choice of Puerto La Cruz for this ceremony was also significant. Situated in the state of Anzoátegui, the region is not only home to vital oil infrastructure, but also serves as a strategic hub connecting military, police and maritime operations. By delivering equipment here and parading motorcycles, SUVs and patrol boats, the Maduro government was sending a dual message. To Venezuelans, reassurance that their institutions remain intact. To adversaries, a warning that the state has both the resolve and the means to defend itself. Yet the reassurances were laced with contradictions. When Cabello insisted this should not worry anyone, his words were accompanied by the unmistakable visuals of militarization, rows of officers in parade, vehicles in formation, and a dramatic slogan equating doubt with betrayal. The optics suggested not calm preparation, but an escalation of loyalty tests and an unmistakable pressure campaign directed inward as much as outward. Across Latin America, the reactions were mixed. Traditional allies such as Cuba and Nicaragua swiftly voiced solidarity, portraying Venezuela's stance as a just defense of sovereignty. Brazil and Colombia, however, adopted a more cautious tone, recognizing the risk of regional destabilization. Meanwhile, Russia and China offered diplomatic cover, criticizing US deployments as reckless provocations. European powers urged restraint, uneasy about both Washington's pressure and Caracas's increasingly militant rhetoric. For Venezuelans, this moment carried echoes of the past. In 2002, when a coup briefly unseated Hugo Chavez, loyalists rallied under the same banners of sovereignty and resistance. In 2019, when opposition leader Juan Guaidó declared himself interim president with support from Washington, Maduro's government showcased military exercises to demonstrate control. But Cabello's framing today is sharper, more explicit. The idea of an armed transition signals not just resilience, but a willingness to embrace confrontation as inevitable. Inside the country, this message serves two purposes. It energizes loyalists who see themselves as defenders of a besieged nation, but it also tightens the pressure on those weary of conflict, shortages, and migration crises. The slogan, "To doubt is treason," is not just a sign on a boat. It is a warning directed at the population itself. In this climate, hesitation is framed as betrayal, dissent as disloyalty. Beyond the optics and the speeches lies the hard reality. Venezuela is grappling with hyperinflation, food insecurity, and one of the largest migration waves in modern history. Millions have left, many heading to neighboring Colombia or farther afield, escaping the very instability that now risks deepening. The declaration of an armed transition may galvanize supporters, but it also risks hardening the resolve of opponents at home and abroad. International analysts now ask, is this show of force meant to deter the United States, or is it paving the path for actual conflict? US warships in the Caribbean serve as both a projection of power and a test of Venezuelan resolve. Caracas's fiery words, in turn, test Washington's willingness to escalate. In such moments, miscalculation is a constant danger. A routine naval maneuver or a misinterpreted signal could ignite the very confrontation Cabello has warned of. As the ceremony drew to a close, the symbolism hung heavy. The motorcycles, the SUVs, the patrol boat with its uncompromising banner, these were not mere props, but extensions of a narrative Venezuela wants the world to absorb, that it is strong, united, and unafraid of conflict. Whether that narrative is persuasive or perilous depends on the choices made in the coming weeks. In Puerto La Cruz, Diosdado Cabello's words echoed across the parade ground and into headlines around the world. He had delivered more than new equipment to the police. He had delivered a stark message about the trajectory of Venezuela's struggle with the United States. From the assurance of peace to the doctrine of permanent offensive, from the symbolism of loyalty to the reality of looming confrontation, this was a moment designed to broadcast both defiance and inevitability. And so Venezuela stands at a crossroads. On one path lies the hope that such declarations serve only as deterrence, a signal strong enough to prevent escalation. On the other lies the possibility that rhetoric becomes reality, that the transition to armed conflict is not merely a warning, but a future being actively prepared. For now, the images remain symbolic, the parades confined to ceremony, the slogans painted on banners rather than written in blood. But in a nation where loyalty is demanded, dissent is dangerous, and external threats loom ever closer, the line between preparation and confrontation grows thinner by the day. The world watches, the Caribbean tenses, and Venezuela itself braces, for peace if possible, for conflict if inevitable.
Vamos a prender la luz, vamos a prender la luz, vamos a prender las cocteleras, para que vean que lo que estamos entregando son unidades de primera. La misión de los funcionarios es trabajar incansablemente junto a nuestro pueblo. ¡Avanzar! Con funcionarios al frente junto al pueblo, a la orden de nuestro pueblo siempre. Nuestras unidades de patrullas de camionetas a la orden de nuestro pueblo. Si está en el circuito comunal número 1, no tiene nada que hacer en el circuito comunal número 20, encontrando por casualidad. Estamos unidos en defensa de la patria. El presidente nos dijo que nos preparemos para hacer la transición de la lucha armada, de la lucha no armada a la lucha armada. Eso no debe preocupar a nadie, porque es la preparación de un pueblo que quiere asegurar su paz, su tranquilidad, su soberanía y su independencia. Dentro de grandes estrategias, todo eso en el marco de la seguridad integral, de la defensa integral de la nación, con dos líneas fundamentales: la resistencia activa prolongada y la ofensiva permanente. La ofensiva permanente, que cuando ellos vengan, ya nosotros le hemos dado dos vueltas.